All right, I hope you can watch me, guys. This one is a live stream. Can you confirm? Is it starting? Yes. All right. So welcome, guys, everyone. I hope everyone's doing really well. This one is a very comprehensive 1 hour yet very useful session for CA Inter students. I'm going to tell you about 5 mistakes to avoid, plus I'm going to give you some really good shortcuts, some techniques. But before everything, guys, let me talk to you about a CA iconic program that we are bringing for you guys. For CA Inter aspirants, this is one of the best programs to enroll for, and the reason why is on the screen. This is the CA iconic program. It's a flagship program by Unacademy for CA intermediate aspirants. And guys, what better than a live mentoring platform? These guys have a live mentoring platform whereby you can get live mentoring on a one-on-one basis. Basically, the only gap between online and physical was this mentoring program which they've introduced. So now you will have a mentor dedicated to you, and if you have any doubts, any queries, any questions, they could be answered. So it's like a one-on-one personal coaching. There's doubt solving, evaluated test series, printed books, industry expert sessions. Basically, industry experts will come and talk to you about different things that are necessary for you to know. And of course, it's a community building platform which they're also aiming at. What I really like the most are the printed books and on the one-on-one doubt solving sessions. Next is the live mentoring iconic program. We're just talking in detail about the mentoring program. Now guys, there's a live mentoring program where our experienced personalized learning like never before with our seasoned mentors and doubt solvers. All the faculties who are here will be mentors with you guys, and they will help you mentor sessions. You can get a customized study plan, which I think is absolutely important. You can't go ahead and crack CA Inter without a good study plan. And of course, articleship guidance also in case you're looking for that. Moving ahead to the next one is evaluated test series. It's so important actually to just test how much you know through a dedicated test series. On social media, you'll have so many people, advertising their own test series, but you never know how the questions are. And more often than not, the persons who are checking the papers are really someone random. So hence you would only trust the best for a dedicated evaluated test series. So this test series will be a test followed by an evaluation where you will be told where you could improve on. Moving ahead, the iconic subscription, the CA Foundation plus the CA Intermediate is for 24 months. It's 2750. You can use the code YESHASLIFE for getting a better deal. And here, for only CA Intermediate, again use the code YESHASLIFE for 12 months. It's about 3,188 rupees per month, which is a discounted amount. And guys, before everything else, today is the 14th of January, and just in 2 days, we're looking at a CA Intermediate Combat. What is this combat all about? This combat, you will be basically participating and competing with other CA Inter students. On the 16th of January in the afternoon at 12 o'clock, there'll be 40 questions given over 60 minutes, and you'll have to answer those questions. Not just it will be a test of what you already know or what you want to know, but this will be ranked. So you'll get prizes. There's a scholarship pool of 1 crore rupees. So there will be scholarship. So rank 1 to 3 will get 100% scholarship. Rank 4 to 10 will get 75% scholarship. 11 to 50th rank will get 50% scholarship, and 25% scholarship for 51st to 100 ranks. So try and challenge yourself to give this test. Guys, it's not an exam. It's just a combat. Test yourself against others, and if you get a good rank, you will get a good scholarship as well. And not just that, if you're just looking at it as a question testing ability, then you'll get detailed video solution by top educators, and you'll get an all India rank, so you'll know exactly where you stand. That's the combat. Participate wholeheartedly and do well. Now guys, I'm moving towards the topic for today, where I feel that there are 5 mistakes which we could definitely avoid while before and after exams. So I want to spend some time discussing that. So that is the agenda for this session. And also the second half of the session, I'm going to give you some really nice techniques on how to understand 2 concepts which are really important. One is a concept on scope of income. As a non-resident, which incomes are you taxable in India? Which incomes are you not taxable? Not just for you, even as CA practitioners, people have issues determining whether an income is taxable or not in India. And second, there is a concept of business connection. There is a section called 9.1. Most CA Inter students leave it because of the sheer intensity and difficulty of that section. I will give you with a very nice example the concept, and I will tell you also what kind of question could be expected in the exam from that. While we are doing this, there is a 7-mark question asked in December exams, just like 1 month before. There was an exam December 12th, which was a CA Inter tax exams, and in that exam there was a 7-mark question on a topic that we are going to do today. So from this small topic you can score almost about 7 marks. So that's what we're going to do. So first let's talk about the topic that is the first thing on my mind, that is the 5 mistakes to avoid, and I'm going to give you 1 complimentary extra, so I'm going to give you 6 mistakes to avoid. The first thing which I feel is the biggest mistake to avoid is studying from too many books. Is there anything like too many books? Yes guys, there is something called too many books. Especially for those people who start a little early. You've done the module, you've probably attended some class, so you have the class notes. The class notes, while you were doing it, you realize that maybe the class notes might not be enough, so you also jumped on to your module. And while doing all of this, you made some half-hearted attempt to also take down notes. So what do you land up with? All this ensures that you land up with a lot of books, plus of course every educator has their own videos. So honestly, it's a problem of too much, which is not a problem honestly, had you got a lot of time to study before the exam. But the problem is that all these books, all these class notes, all these textbooks of educators and all these videos have to be cramped up 1.5 days before the exams, and that is the challenge for all of us. I'm going to be specific here for tax, and I'm going to discuss how do you deal with this problem in your tax exams. So is 1.5 days enough to go through everything? Absolutely not. It's not enough to go through everything. So then what do you do? How do you get done with this problem? Let's talk about it. So first, whatever source you are studying from, make sure they are either concise themselves or you have made them concise in your notes. One of them has to happen, because if you're studying from a book, I don't want to name authors, but there are authors and they've been authors from the time I started studying, and the books are so big that it's a nightmare to even start and finish the books. So make sure you're making very concise notes. I can tell you for my tax perspective, in my classes, whether they are physical classes or online or even on Unacademy, I make people write such concise notes that those notes are great to read and to revise whenever you want to revise. Next, if you can do any book which is a quick revision book, so that is a great way to revise. So a revision book for my students and for my from my perspective, I have a book called the Quick Book, which I have personally developed, and the entire Quick Book is basically used to revise the entire syllabus very quick. I'll give you an example. The GST Quick Book is just about 35 pages, and when I say pages, they're not even full pages, they're basically, not even fully filled up pages. And the DT Quick Book is about 60 pages. So in these many pages, there is everything that you want to know and you have to revise for the exam. Of course, they're not the questions there, they're only the concepts there. Next, for people who like the module, I'm one of them. I really love the module, the way it is made, and also the confidence that it gives you that yes, I have done the module. But how do you do the module 1 day before the exam? It is not possible for you to do the module before the exam, and also if you're doing that, you're compromising on your sleep, which is not recommended. So what you do is, what I recommend people, if you're looking at the module, make sure you underline the things that are important and put them in your notes. So the module should basically be, or all the important things which in the module you feel are important, you should make them a part of your notes, not reference to the module, part of your notes. If you can do that, my notes, I try to make it a part of my notes. My notes cover everything. If not the notes, then the revision book at least covers everything. Next, if you even want to do the module, you should be doing the module only and only for the questions it has in the end. Because guys, it's ICAI, and ICAI feels they want to reward people who've done the module. So hence the questions are great to do 1 day before the exam. So here is what you should be doing. I'm just summarizing this point. You can be reading too many books before the exams while you're studying, no problem at all. have a mountain of books, put your Instagram story that this book looks taller than my table also, no problem. But when you're looking for preparing 1.5 days before the exam, make sure you're equipped with 3 things. One is your notes. So when you come back, you should be equipped with your notes. And if your notes are not concise, please refer to my quick book or to any author's book which is very, very, very short. So that book will be the one that you have to revise. You don't have time for anything more. And make sure this revision happens in 1/3 of the time that you have. So let's say in 1.5 days, you have basically 20 hours to study. Then this revision should happen in about 7 hours. So make sure your revision happens really quickly. And once the concept is revised, all you should do is questions. Questions from the module, questions from the MTP, questions from the RTP, questions from any book you can find. Generally, the RTP, MTP and the module questions you should be doing. So basically, the focus will be 1/3 on revision of the concepts and 2/3 it will be revision or doing the questions. And when I say doing, you don't have the time to solve questions one day before the exam. So you should be just flipping through the books and you should be doing the questions. So this, guys, is your 1 day before the exam strategy. Also, avoid using too many books, because honestly, you would have done the world before 1.5 days, but in those 1.5 days, if you can't revise, you will not be confident enough to walk into the examination hall. So that's one mistake to avoid. Second mistake to avoid, which I'm going to list down here. Guys, this is one of my favorite things, which is always and always true, which is fear of missing out. And this is not a CA inter problem. This is a CA inter, CA final. This is a life problem, because whenever you're doing something, you will always feel you're missing out on something else. Like right now I'm here, today is Makar Sankranti, but I'm feeling that, listen, I'm missing out on flying kites, and by the time I finish these live sessions, it'll be dim, so there'll be no light to fly kites. So am I missing out? Yes. So that is a fear, and that is a fear even which you carry to the exams. What happens is, when you're studying, obviously you're trying to cover as much as you can, but will you miss out on something? Yes, you will. No matter how much you try, guys, there will be something that you miss out. Maybe not miss out completely, but maybe missing out revision. So there will be some parts that you miss out, and not just for you guys, even for the people who've got ranks and who got single digit ranks, even for them, if you talk to them, there are things that they've missed out on. And missing out is not a problem. Missing out, and then before the exam, when you talk to your friends and they ask you certain question, and maybe one of them is something that you missed out on, that's when the real problem starts. That's when the FOMO starts ticking in, that, listen, I've not done that. So I just want to assure you that, the fear of missing out is real, and it happens to everyone. So how do you get over with it? You don't get over with it, you deal with it. And the best way to deal with it is to tell yourself that if there are 100 things which are there in the book, out of that, only about 15 things will be questioned. So only about 15% of your concepts will be asked in the exam. Guys, your exam is only 100 marks, and that too if you're talking about tax. GST is just 40 marks and DT is just 60 marks. So they can't be possibly asking all the 100 concepts. So they will only be talking about 15 things. Example, in PGBP, let's say if there are 35 sections or 30 sections with subsections, clauses, etc., they'll barely be asking 2 or 3. So you should be dealing with it in a manner that you should be telling yourself that out of the 100 things, 15 are going to be asked, and I'm prepared for them. Maybe not 1 or 2, but I'm prepared for most of them. Because otherwise, guys, this fear of missing out will trouble you till you enter. It will hamper your confidence, and it will hamper your ability to take that paper. That is the fear of missing out, and honestly, it is going to be life. Another way of dealing with fear of missing out is basically to be content with whatever you've done. I personally would deal with it this way. 1 hour before the exam, so let's say the exam is at 11 o'clock, then 1 hour before the exam, that is at 10 o'clock, I would shut down my books and I would not look at the books come what may. Even if someone told me that I know this question is coming in the exam paper, someone has told me that this question is coming in the exam paper, even then I would not look at the books. And when I would talk to friends, I would tend to talk about things other than books. So 1 hour before you cut off, and that's where you disconnect yourself from that fear of missing out feeling. That I feel is a second mistake, and that I feel is a very psychological mistake. So start training your mind to not be so fearful of missing out on the concepts. That brings me to the next part, which is expectation. Now, what is this expectation and why am I talking about that? The moment an exam gets over, people call you, people message you, so the exam was great. So the exam was really bad. So the exam was okay, there was some parts which were really bad, and you get mixed opinions from some people and some great opinions from some people, some very bad opinions from some people. Now what happens is, ICAI cannot afford to have an exam that is going to make everyone pass. ICAI has to keep the paper slightly difficult because guys, the pass percentage cannot be like a really high pass percentage. And if ICAI gives an easy paper and everyone scores well, how will they cut down marks? So hence, the last few exams, there's a trend that certain papers or most papers have some part which are very, very difficult. So there are going to be parts of your paper which are going to be very difficult. Now, of course, the best way to prepare for a difficult paper is to prepare well, revise often and all of that, which is great. But even after doing all of that, if there is some part of the paper which is difficult, then what happens is when you start writing the paper and you come across something difficult, suddenly all your brain cells start getting negative, that the paper is very difficult. And that generally happens because your expectation and you're expecting a paper which is going to be flawless. Don't do that. Your expectation should be such that yes, there is going to be difficult parts, and I'm aware that there are going to be parts which I will not know. And that suddenly makes the whole process smoother because you have to admit that yes, there are parts of the paper which will be difficult, which will be challenging, and not just for me, for everyone. But will that impact my entire paper? That's up to you. If your expectation is that it's not going to appear and suddenly you see something, then it's going to be a problematic. So if you take your car out and it's a very nice car and you're expecting the roads to be flawless and you feel potholes on the road, you'll feel very bad about it. But if you already know there'll be potholes and there'll be a few potholes and then will be a good road, you are expecting it, so you'll not feel so bad about it. So that is a difference. So honestly, hope for the best, but prepare yourself for the worst. So while you're preparing, prepare yourself for the most difficult paper and keep telling yourself that yes, there will be parts in the paper which will be very difficult for us to do. What happens is when you're prepared, the difficult part, you will go through whatever you can write, you write, but the easier part will be nice because you're not disturbed by the fact that some part of the paper was difficult. On the other hand, if the difficult part of the paper just confuses you, makes you very, very sad, then even the easier part you will miss out on. It's the nervousness that will play throughout your paper. Don't do that. Keep your expectations very, very, very realistic and tell yourself that yes, I'm not giving a 10th exam or a 12th exam or a +2 or a BCom exam. This is a CA inter exam. This is an exam where they want to filter out people who don't know the concepts really well from people who know it. And honestly, I don't want to be the one who lowers your expectation of marks. But honestly, it takes only 50 to 60 marks maximum to clear exams really well. I'm sure we're aiming for really great marks, but I'm just giving you a realistic picture. Even if the paper is difficult for about 10-15 marks, you still have that 85 marks to play around with. And that's a lot of marks that you can play around with. So that should be on your mind. Not that I'm taking away the fact that you want to score like the best AIR. Of course you should, but if your expectations are realistic, then you will not be so disappointed in life, and that works in life as well. If you have too many expectations from yourself, from others around you, from life in general, then you'll be disappointed very often because not everyone and not everything will be as per your expectation. But if your expectations are low from yourself, from people around you, whatever they give you, whatever they deliver will be great and you'll have a more happier life. Anyways, you're going to get the same, but it's only a matter of perspective what you see. So that's the third thing which I spoke about and which I really wanted to talk about. Let's go to the next two things and let's see what happens in the next two. There are actually three more, but let's talk about the next one. The fourth one is about the exam and how you write it. Guys, if you don't have a strategy, then your exam might not be able, you'll not be able to complete the exam as well as you thought it. And what do I mean by strategy? Strategy is simple. Even on a Friday night when you want to go out with your friends, even when you want to reach the airport, don't you have a strategy? My flight is at 9 o'clock. If I leave at 6, there will be traffic today because it's a Friday evening. So I'll use a shorter route to go there. Guys, if you can have a strategy to reach the airport on time, what makes you think that you can do CA Inter really well without a strategy? So have a strategy of writing the exam. And what I mean by that is you don't have to attack the most difficult question first. Let me give you an example. In DT, let's say you start your exam with DT, which I will not recommend, but let's say you start your exam with DT and you go on to an MCQ. I'm giving you a very practical case. The MCQ is a case-based MCQ. There is a person like me, Mr. Sourabh Mutha, and they have different incomes, they have different expenses, they have different deductions, and the first question is find out the tax liability of Sourabh Mutha for the year. This MCQ I know is going to trouble me right now. Why? Because for the tax liability I'll have to find all my incomes, add them up, minus the expenses, go to my clubbing, go to my set off, go to my deductions, and finally get my total income, which is still not the answer. From there I'll have to find out my tax liability, and even one number here and there I'll not get my right answer. So if I spend too much time on questions like these, I will not be able to focus on the question that I should be focusing on. So hence you should have a strategy that if I come across a question which is very detailed, even in MCQ, then I will skip that. Of course, you will make a marking on it before you skip that, and you will do the next question, which probably says determine whether Sourabh Mutha is a resident or a non-resident, or the third one which says determine Sourabh Mutha's income from house property, because these are simpler, so you can always do these first, and once you do these you can always go back to them later. But this one for 2 marks is going to be a big problem, whereas these ones for 2 marks are going to be a smoother sail. I'm not saying that you leave that question, but you temporarily leave it to rest and come back to it, because that's a more difficult questions. Don't land up spending too much time on difficult questions. Also, with respect to other than MCQs, when you go to question number 1 of DT, which is basically the 14-mark question. You know ICAI, this is ICAI's favorite difficult question. They will try and make this question slightly complicated because this is the compulsory question, so everyone will want to do this. And because they want to give 14 marks, they want to give it very selective. So they are going to make sure that this question is very difficult. Many times, I'm not saying always, but many times this question is difficult. So avoid starting with this kind of question. So what do? You start off with the next question, because you know there is a question number 2 in which there is a predictable 2A or 2B which has TDS, TCS of 8 marks. So what you should do basically is have a strategy and not enter the exam room just blindly, guys. It's not a war you're fighting with a bull or a wolf. It's a war that you're fighting with someone who's a very thought out strategy at the other end also. So why not you also have a strategy for writing the exam? My strategy is anything which is difficult, you should know, like question number 1 is difficult here. You should avoid it right now and come back later. On the other hand, in fact, I would recommend most of my students to not start with DT, to start with GST. And in GST, again, MCQs first. And then when you come to questions, the first question in GST is one of the easiest questions if you know ITC and payment chapter well. If you don't know, I have a YouTube video revising all the chapters, watch that. But anyways, coming back, the first question is for 8 marks here and it's very simple. So if you have a strategy, you will know that this is the question that I want to do first. So walk in with a smile and a strategy into your classroom. Don't walk in blindly. Don't walk in just praying to God and saying that let me do whatever I can. No, let me do whatever I have planned. That should be the strategy. Next is the 5th one. Technically, the last mistake that you should avoid. Guys, it's amazing how every time you have a birthday party, there are some people, or every time there's Diwali or Christmas, you get gifts. Sometimes the gifts are amazing looking, but they are not packed really well. they're packed really shabby. I typically remember one of my family friends used to give me a gift which used to be wrapped in a paper which was a used paper, so it had so many crumples on them. And honestly, even if it is the best gift inside, from the face of it, I already am thinking that it's not a great gift. So on the other hand, Diwali and Christmas, you get such nicely packed gifts with gift wrapped with a bow on top, etc., that you, before even opening the gift, you have such high regard for the gift. You're so pleasantly surprised with the gift, and that is what even reflects in the question paper. Your question number 1, which is a messed up affair, and you start off with that, the examiner is going to look at it and going to say that why is this gift wrapping paper so crumpled, why is there no bow, and why is it not neatly packed? So hence, presentation and practice are two P's that you cannot avoid, guys. Presentation and practice, because guys, it's like the chicken and the egg. You don't know which comes first, but you know both are there. So the more you practice, the more presentations will improve. Now, it's very funny how you can never learn swimming by just talking to the swimming instructor. The swimming instructor, who obviously knows swimming really well, he can going to continue hoping that it continues. Okay, so I think it is back. All right. Anyway, so I'm just going to continue with presentation and practice, guys. Presentation and practice go hand in hand. And yes, I was talking to you about a swimming instructor, and no matter how good he is at swimming, if you're going to hear him talk about swimming and show you hand movements and expect that I'm going to go in the pool sometime later and I'll be swimming like a pro, that's wrong. You cannot watch a workout video and expect to lose weight. Guys, you'll have to do it yourself. So I'm not saying do every question there is in a module. No, you don't need to do that. But especially for tax, I can say that for tax, per chapter you will have to do at least 3 questions solving. And when I say solving, particulars, amount, the lines, the working notes, the works, everything. Per chapter, every chapter 3. For law, audit, theoretical chapters, maybe not so many also, but you'll need a practice to know how fast you can write and how fast you can recollect. But hence, you should practice, and practice will not happen in March and April if your exams are in May. Honestly, the feeling that I have less time will start creeping in and you will not be able to practice well. So the time to practice is when your classes are going on and a concept is taught. Sit back and just do 1 sum or 2 sums. Be patient with yourself, and the more you do this, the more your presentation will improve, and that is key. Because guys, when the examiner, honestly, we've not yet reached a world where your CA exams are tested by computers. Just like you wake up in the morning and you go to work, there are paper correctors who wake up in the morning and look at your paper. Make sure they have a pretty site to look at. Your paper looks well, has good underlining, has told them that what you presented well. Basically, the presentation matters a lot. Having said that, it's not that whatever is inside doesn't matter, but on the first look, guys, it's very, very psychological. They will not give you great marks if your presentation is not great. And hence, spend more time on questions that you know well, present them well at the start. So by the time your moderator or your examiner has made up the mind that yes, the student has presented well, even the first question which looks shabby now doesn't seem so shabby. So work on your presentation, and that will get along with practice. And of course, the session says 5 mistakes to avoid, but I'm going to give you a complimentary 6th mistake. Sounds bad that I'm giving you a 6th mistake, but I'm giving you a mistake that you should avoid. Guys, always the time that has gone past, if you look back, it's not too much to delve about. They say that the front mirror or the front view of the car is bigger, the front glass of the car is bigger than the rear view mirror, for a reason that they don't want you to look back so much in life as well. And same goes for ICAI papers also. Once the paper is over, treat it like an X you don't want to talk about. So in that, once the paper is over, think about it as something that is done and dusted, and don't think about it. Honestly, I have had students who've evaluated the papers and who asked me for their opinion, even though next day or next to next day they have a next paper. Don't do that, guys. The paper is written, the ship has sailed, now you can't do anything about it. So might as well, even if you want to evaluate, wait for all the exams to get done and then watch it. Now it's educators who are just trying to be one up among the others. So every time a paper comes out, the next 1 hour, there are educators on YouTube who will come up with the solution of the entire paper. Good for them, but that's not for you. Wait, take your time, let all the exams get over, and then if you feel like, if you're in the mental state to actually look at your paper and evaluate. Otherwise, ICAI has paid people to evaluate it for you. They will evaluate and tell you the result. Alright, so those were the mistakes. Don't think too much about the paper. Presentation and practice matters. Strategy matters, guys. Every time you want to do something, you have to strategize. Expectation should be low, and expectation should be preparing you for a tough paper. And FOMO is real. Start being content with how much you've done. And too many books is a trap. So from today onwards, if you see a huge book, ask yourself, how can I make it really, really small? Alright. Now guys, it's time for the second leg of the session, where I'm going to share with you something, and we'll do an examination question of December 21. So let's talk about a concept which a lot of people find it difficult. So let's talk about that concept. Guys, in the exam, either they will tell you, or you will have to figure out whether the person is a non-resident, or certain people are resident but not ordinary residents, and certain people are residents and ordinary residents. So either you will have to find this out, and if you're lucky, the examiner will tell you, the exam question will tell you that this person, Mr. X, is a non-resident, or a company is a non-resident, or an individual is a resident. Now that you come across these three things, I'm going to give you a shortcut which will help you identify which incomes are taxable. First, this resident and ordinary resident, he's a little sad because this entire global income is taxed in India. That means if he has any income in Bombay, or in Barcelona, or in Bangkok, or in any part of the world, he is going to be taxed in India. Obviously, the question will come to your mind that will he not be taxed in those countries? Yes, he will be taxed in those countries also, and that's why at CA final we have a topic which says double taxation relief. How do you get relief from that double tax? But from an exam perspective, although he is sad, we are very happy, because the moment in the exam the person is a resident and ordinary resident, you don't have to think. Each of his incomes are taxable, obviously after minusing expenses, but each of his incomes will be taxable, except one income which I'm going to talk about. I'm just writing it here, except that one income which we will talk about. But for a non-resident and for a resident and not ordinary resident, they are not really that sad. In fact, they are happy. We'll find out the reason for their happiness. The reason for their happiness is dear income. And the reason for our session, also one of the shortcuts I'm going to give you, is dear income. So for a non-resident, only dear income is taxable. If you've already been my student, you know the shortcut in a very, very big way. You use this at a lot of places. But otherwise, guys, if this is dear income, then only dear income is taxable in the hands of the non-resident. So what exactly is this dear income? Let's talk about that. Dear income basically means, I'm just going to write dear here and just going to elongate. Dear means for a non-resident as well as for a resident and not ordinary resident, they are looking at dear income. Basically, dear income means those incomes that are received in India. So if the question says received in a bank account in India, received in India, that means it will be taxable in India. That means it's dear income. So R is received in India. Only if it's dear income will it be taxable for NR and RNOR. Received in India does not mean if you receive it in State Bank of India, London, does not mean you receive it in India. Only that which is received in India. Many times the exam question will say that you've earned 10 lakh, out of which 50% is received in India. So only 5 lakh is received in India, and hence only 5 lakh is dear income, and hence only 5 lakh will be taxable in India. What about A? A are those incomes which are accruing in India. What do you mean by accruing in India? Guys, my entire DT is full of these kind of shortcuts. This is just one of them which I am presenting to you. This is accruing in India. What do you mean by accruing in India? Accruing in India means it is somewhere becoming liable to be paid to you in India. Example, if you have an FD, a 5-year FD, which you made 2 months back, then have you started earning the interest? No, interest will come to you after a month, after a year. But is it accrued to you? Is it accruing to you? Yes, it is accruing to you. Accruing and earned are very similar concepts. Accruing basically means it is liable to be paid to you. Maybe it's not paid yet, but it's liable to be paid to you. Example, if you work in a job and today is the 14th of Jan, from 2nd or 1st of Jan you work till 14th of Jan, have you been paid the salary? No, but is the salary liable to be paid to you? Yes. That is accruing in India. It should be accruing in India. Next, earned in India. Earned in India is a very simple concept and it's similar to accruing. That FD, after a year, when the interest is paid to you, have you earned it in India? Yes. So is there an India connection? Yes. So EAR are basically have an India connection, received in India, accruing in India, or earned in India. And now I'm looking at this D part to figure out whether it is deemed to accrue or arise in India. So let's look at this D part. Guys, there are some 8 incomes. There are 8 incomes which there is certain debate as to who should tax them, whether India should tax them or whether foreign countries should tax them. But of course, India is a developing country and we need good amount of taxes. So the government goes one step ahead and says, listen, we will tax these 8 incomes. So even if there is some discussion or there is some argument whether India should tax it or foreign countries should tax it, we go one step ahead and we say that these incomes are D. D is for deemed to accrue or arise in India, and hence they are also a part of DEAR income. So the last part of DEAR is D. I'm going reverse, and these are 8 incomes which are deemed to accrue or arise in India. That is basically these 8 incomes might become taxable in India. No, now they will be taxable in India. There is no argument about it. These incomes are almost like we've snatched it from abroad and now we're taxing it in India. So let's talk about what are these 8 incomes. And again guys, for that also I have a shortcut. So received in India, yes. Accruing in India, yes. Earned in India, yes. And deemed to accrue or rise in India, yes. This is DEAR income. So and a non-resident was only taxable on DEAR income, yes. Only this. So any other except DEAR, will it be taxable? No. What about RNOR? RNOR will be also taxed on DEAR income, but plus 1 income. So there's only one additional income that RNOR is also taxed on. So he will also be looking at, or she will also be looking at, only DEAR income plus 1 income. What is that plus 1? That is that one income which is earned abroad but it's controlled from India. So that is the one additional income which is earned abroad. So let's say you have a hotel abroad, or let's say you have a business abroad which you're controlling from India, then in that case RNOR will also be taxed on that income. So just summarizing, non-resident will be taxed only on DEAR income and RNOR will be taxed on DEAR plus 1 income. This is DEAR. It's going to be very, very helpful. We'll do a question very soon once we finish the 8 deemed incomes, and I think we should be able to do that with a shortcut now. Of course, that word remittance, guys, remittance is basically when you earn some money abroad and you're sending it back to your country or to yourself, then that is not taxed again. Example, if you earn money in the US and you want to send those dollars back into India, into your account, that is not income. It will not be taxed again. That is remittance. So only the first receipt is always taxed. But guys, let's come to the main part, which is deemed income. So there is a section called section 9. And section 9, the first part, section 9.1, talks about deemed income. You know, I wish this was true, that we can assume income. I would assume to be, you could assume yourself to be a millionaire or billionaire, but this is done from a tax perspective, that they assume that income, it's actually an income, but they assume that income to be in India. So deemed to accrue or rise in India, that's the full word, but I'm calling it deemed income. These are 8 incomes and they are given in the shortcut called ISSDIRF, and this shortcut is honestly a gift because it's very easy to remember. Guys, all these incomes will not be checked from a resident, because for a resident anyways, every income, if there is an income anywhere in the world, it will be taxable in India. So we will check this ISSD IRF only for non-residents. So here it is. I'm going to summarize these 8 incomes here in that one line. First, let's talk about gift. If you are sending some money abroad, so cash, bank account, money, if you're sending some money abroad, more than 50,000 as a gift to a non-resident, then they will not bother you. You've sent the money, great, but the non-resident, in that non-resident's hand, this gift will be deemed to accrue or arise in India. That means if you send 5 lakh rupees abroad, that 5 lakh will be an income for the non-resident. So for that non-resident will have to come to India and pay taxes. This basically now has stopped a lot of foreign remittances which were sent abroad. You would earn income in India, you send it abroad, so that abroad it is invested, so you are not taxed again. So in that case, that will be avoided now. So you are not bothered here, but the non-resident will have to come to India and pay taxes. Next, IRF, very, very interesting. Guys, if there's a non-resident and who is earning interest from India, R is royalty from India, and F is fees for technical services from India. I repeat, if there is a non-resident earning interest, royalty or fees from technical services from India, then will India get the right to tax it? So let's say this is 1 crore, 1 crore, 1 crore. Will India get the right to tax it? That depends on who is paying it. If this income is paid by the government of India, then you don't have to check anything. It is definitely deemed to accrue or arise in India and hence taxable in India, because if the government of India is paying this, then India wants to tax it. If it's paid by a resident, example, if it's Reliance Industries in India who's paying this interest, royalty and fees for technical services to Tesla USA, then in that case you will check the usage. If the usage is in India for any business or profession, or for any income generating activity, any of these. So the usage should be for what? For a business or profession or any income generating activity. And guys, even if a non-resident is paying, and this is very difficult when you actually see the word, one non-resident is paying to another non-resident, then why are we bothered about it? If tomorrow Bill Gates and Elon Musk are doing something in the US, why are we bothered about it? But if one non-resident pays interest, royalty and fees for technical services, but the ultimate use of that money or the technology is in India, if the usage is in India, again for a business or profession or income generating activity, then in all these 3 cases, it will be deemed to accrue or arise in India. For a resident and non-resident, you will check territorial nexus, that means you will check usage, yes. And for Government of India, you will not check usage at all. There is an exception here only for interest and only for non-resident. When a non-resident, that is Bill Gates, is paying to another non-resident, that is Elon Musk, some interest, and that is used in India, it will be taxable only if it is used for business and profession and not for income generating activity. Again I repeat, this exception is only when interest is paid by one non-resident like Bill Gates to another non-resident like Elon Musk. Will it be deemed to accrue or arise in India? Yes, but not for income generating activity, only if it is used for a business or profession in India. Government, no usage checked. Resident, non-resident usage checked, but for interest, non-resident, the usage is only checked for business and profession. Next, dividend. If a non-resident is earning not interest, not royalty, not fees for technical services, not gift, but if the non-resident is earning some dividend from an Indian company, obviously you can obviously say it is deemed to accrue or arise in India. In fact, what is the deeming part? It is definitely accruing or arising in India. Next is salary. If there is a non-resident who is earning salary from India, not interest, not royalty, not fees for technical services, not gift, not dividend, but salary from India, then in that case, this is being earned from India for services rendered in India, and hence we want to tax it in India. It's like if Japanese metro employees are helping India, Bombay, Bangalore, Chennai to build metros, and they're giving some services in India for which they're getting salary. The services are rendered in India, and hence we want to tax them in India. Next is again salary. Again, a non-resident is getting salary from India, but this time it's slightly different. This non-resident is an Indian citizen. This non-resident is an Indian citizen, and the person who's paying it is Government of India. So these two are specifics that you need to understand. Who is paying it? Government of India. And whom are they paying it? To a non-resident but who's an Indian citizen. Typical example is, if you are an Indian citizen but you are an IFS officer and you are working in France in the Indian embassy there, then who's paying your salary? Government. In that case, have you received the salary abroad? Yes. Is the salary earned abroad? Yes, you worked there. Is it accruing abroad? Yes. So why is India taxing it? The logic is that India wants to tax all the officers at the same rate, and hence India says that I will deem to accrue or rise in India. As this one has two peculiarities: the payment has to be by Government of India and the payment has to be to Indian citizen only. Any of this changes, this deeming provision will not apply. And last is I, that is income from any business connection in India. So if the non-resident is earning some money from a business connection in India, or is earning some money from a property source or capital asset in India, for this guys, I don't think we'll have enough time, so I'm just going to summarize this for you. Business connection is any person who is doing your work in India, and because of that person you are earning some income. Example, there is a phone company called OnePlus which let's say is only in China, but you and me are buying those phones from an agent in India, from their agent in India. This agent is one of their exclusive agents. He basically does all the work for them. He concludes contracts, negotiates contracts till conclusion, he stocks the goods for them, and because of this agent, if they make money, the government says we will tax you, not the agent, we will tax you in India on the income that is earned through the agent. So this is a business connection. Business connection means, do you have a connection in India? Yes. And is he driving business for you? Yes. So that is a business connection. So who will be taxed? The non-resident will be taxed in India. If that agent has earned them income on that India attributed income, it will be taxed in India. But there are 5 exceptions. The exception, there is a shortcut. India exports news, movies and diamonds. So only India attributable income will be a business connection. But because business connection is a very dangerous concept, and so that foreign companies should not run away from India, we are telling that only India attributable income will be taxable in India. So we will not touch your foreign income. If you purchase goods in India for the purpose of export, that is not a business connection. So if you're a foreign company and let's say you make very good gadgets abroad, but the batteries you buy from India, then we are not going to tax you just because you're purchasing for export. If you are collecting news and views, like BBC has correspondents in India for collecting news and views, we will not disturb you. If you are shooting a movie in India, we will not tax you in India. And if you are just having a diamond exhibition for diamonds in a free trade zone, we are not, just because of these presents, we will not deem to accrue or rise your entire income or your income in India. So these are exceptions to business connection. This ISSD IRF, the best part is, it is 9, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So you don't have to remember the clauses, they are in this straight shortcut, ISSD IRF gifts. So if in the exam, and we'll do an exam question, if one of them comes, you know exactly what to quote. Let's move to an exam question right away. I'm just going to move to an exam question now. Let's take the December paper which just happened like a month back, and let's try and see one question from here, guys. Here it is. This is a 7-mark question, question number 2A. Let's try and see if we can answer this. Examine the tax implication of the following transactions for the assessment year 21-22, that is financial year 2021. Government of India has appointed Mr. Rahul as an ambassador in Japan. He received a salary of 7.5 lakh and allowances of 2,40,000 during the year for rendering his services in Japan. He is an Indian citizen having status of a non-resident in India during the previous year 2021. Guys, are we talking about a non-resident? Yes, Mr. Rahul is a non-resident. So for him, only dear income is taxable. Okay. Is it received in India? No. Is it earned and accruing in India? No. But is it deemed to accrue? Let's check ISSD IRF. One of the S's, guys, the second one, is the government of India paying? Yes. Is it paying to an Indian citizen abroad? Yes. Then that 7.5 lakhs will be taxable in India. Of course, the allowances, guys, there's a shortcut, 7 allowances. Section 10(7), that is exempt. But anyways, we did not discuss exemption. So 7.5 lakh, will it be taxable? Yes. Allowances are exempt. We will see an exemption chapter, but this is how the first one goes. Ms. Juhi, a non-resident. Again, we are talking about some non-resident. She is engaged in operations which are confined to purchase of goods. So she basically purchases goods in India for the purpose of export. She has earned 2.5 lakh during the previous year. Now guys, 2.5 lakh earned by Juhi. So the moment you see non-resident earning, ask yourself, she will be taxed only on dear income. Is it received in India? We don't know. We can't assume. Is it earned in India, accruing in India? No, because abroad as operations here are only purchase. So is it deemed ISSD IRF? So in the business connection, guys, there is a concept that India exports news, movies and diamonds. And in exports, that is the exception, that even if you purchase for the purpose of export, if you are just doing that, we will not tax you as a business connection. So Ms. Juhi, feel relaxed, you are not a business connection, and the section is 911. Ms. Juhi, a non-resident, will not be subject to business connection under section 911 because of the explanation under section 911. Let's see the next one. Mr. Naveen is a non-resident. So again, we're talking about a non-resident, and Mr. Naveen has earned 3 lakh. Congratulations for a royalty of a patent, and from Rakesh, who is also a non-resident. So guys, two non-residents are interacting. Why are we bothered? Because this might be deemed to accrue or rise in India. For Naveen, it is not received in India, it is not earned and accruing in India, but maybe we'll check for deemed. So let's see, guys, this is royalty. So ISSDIRF. So 916. In 916, if a non-resident is paying, you'll have to check usage in India. So is it used in India or not? Mr. Rakesh has utilized the patents received for development of a product in India. Yes. So it's used in India. So will that 3 lakh be taxable? Yes, it will be deemed to accrue or rise in India under section 916, and hence will be taxable in the hands of Mr. Naveen. But only 50% is received. Guys, we are beyond R, E and A, we are on D. So whether it's received or not doesn't matter. If it's deemed income, then the entire income will be taxable. So Mr. Naveen, we are not looking at received, we are looking at deemed income. And let's take the fourth one. Here, Mr. James, who is again a non-resident, has borrowed 10 lakh rupees from Mr. Akash, who is also a non-resident. It's almost like Bill Gates and Elon Musk taking money from each other. But Mr. James, let's see where he's used this money. This money has been used to buy shares of an Indian company, guys. So ISSDIRF 915 says, if a non-resident is paying interest, is Mr. James paying interest to Mr. Akash? Yes. So whose income are we talking about? Mr. Akash. The interest income is 10 lakh into 12%, that is 1,20,000. 1,20,000 is Akash's income. Is it received in India, earned in India, accruing in India? We don't know. But is it deemed to accrue or rise in India? We'll have to check 915. We'll have to check usage because it's not government of India, so we have to check usage. Is it used in India? Yes. But is it used for business and profession? Guys, this is an exception. It has to be used for business or profession. No, it's used for income generating activity like shares. So hence, this is not deemed to accrue or rise in India, and hence Akash, you will not be taxed in India. Guys, this not just helps you understand the concept, these kind of shortcuts help you understand the section, subsection, clause, everything there is. So that's how this legs looks like. Guys, my entire DT works in the same manner of shortcuts. Right now, currently, I'm taking a CA Inter course for May and November 22 on Unacademy. It starts in the morning at 7:30, and every day we do 3 sessions of 2 hours, basically 6 hours with good breaks. And it's a highly interactive, very shortcut driven, very comprehensive coverage. Everything is being covered right from the module to I'm giving you notes as well, and a quick book is also being discussed there. So if you're looking at completing your DT really well, I've just started. Today was day 1, so join in or watch the recorded ones and you'll really find them useful. Also for GST, I've just yesterday completed a GST thing. You can watch the revision on YouTube, or you can watch the entire course on Unacademy right here. It started off on 3rd Jan and ended yesterday. So in about 60 hours or 54 hours actually, we completed the entire GST. So watch out, and you will really enjoy tax. Maybe, just maybe, tax might just become your favorite subject. That's been my time. I think if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me, and reach out to me on YouTube, Unacademy, I'm there. And otherwise guys, good luck. I hope we all do really well. Thank you.